Welcome to Charge Forward Coaching, the podcast for committed athletes and individuals who want to achieve more on and off the field. Hosted by James Blasco, certified mental toughness and resilience coach. You'll gain insights and inspiration from elite athletes, coaches, and others who know what it takes to excel. Are you ready to go to the next level? Then tune in, get inspired, and let's charge forward. Now here's your host, James Blasco.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Charge Forward Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, James Blasco. We have another great episode ahead of us. You know, we're going to talk about mental toughness, but we're also going to talk about golf, the sport I love. And you know, for those of you out there who play golf, it could be a big time mental game, right? And it could just drive you crazy emotionally and otherwise. So imagine what it's like as a kid who's just getting into golf and is trying to understand, like, oh my gosh, why would I play a sport that drives me nuts? I'm no good at it yet, and stay committed to it and keep their emotions under control. But also there's a lot of kids out there who don't even have access to golf, that they find it hard to understand how to start playing and where to get equipment and things like that. Well, today we have a special guest. His name is John Parker. He is the CEO of the First Tee in Savannah. It's a chapter of the First Tee that started way back in the 90s, the late 90s, the PGA, the LPGA, the USGA, the Masters Foundation all came together and started this organization to help kids, especially less fortunate kids, get into golf and have access to golf. So today we're going to talk to John about his background. We're going to talk about the First Tee, and we're going to talk about the mental side of helping kids, especially young kids, when they start golf, how to work the way through it, get better at it, and stick to it. So, John, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, James.
So, John, why don't you tell us a little bit of your background? I know you were a teacher, and then you decided to go full-time with the First Tee, and you've grown it into one of the largest of all the First Tees. How did that all come to be?
Well, I wouldn't say we're the largest. I think there's some larger cities out there. I know that Atlanta, Sacramento, Dallas have much bigger. I'd say we're about a medium-sized market. But I mean, honestly, it just came with just passion and, you know, basically a ton of perseverance. It's one of the things that we teach here at First Tee, and I'm fortunate that we were able to find the right people in the right places to help grow this as fast as possible.
So a lot of people aren't familiar with the First Tee. What basically is it all about?
So the basic fundamental, I guess, foundational building block at First Tee is teaching life skills through golf. The basic, I guess, starting chapters typically start with classes ages 7 to 9, 10 to 11, 12 to 13, and 14 plus. Every chapter is unique in its own way. And, you know, one thing that we did is we continuously added things in, which helped us kind of develop and grow. Each chapter has a school program, as well as a bunch of other community partnerships as well. But we also added in a little putters class for participants as young as 4, up to age 6. We also recognized that some of our female participants weren't very comfortable being the only girl in class, and so we started an LPGA girls golf program as well. And then we started seeing some students with adaptive needs, and whether that be behavior disorders, cognitive, social, emotional, or amputee and blind, deaf disabilities. So we started an adaptive golf program, and that kind of developed into, we actually took over a tournament series and now run tournaments for 9 holes, 36 holes, 54 holes. And we also added in a mentor golf as well. So basically, if you can think about doing a golf program, we pretty much do it all. We do classes in parks, on golf courses, in schools, and community centers. We're pretty much everywhere in a 6-county radius around Savannah.
Wow, that's amazing and so impressive. So when a kid first starts to get involved with golf, what are some of their first reactions? I can imagine they're excited, but also like, what the heck? How do I even do this?
I mean, I would say that it depends on how it's being taught. We really try to make the game fun. Most of our participants, if not all, start in a large class setting. When I say large, about 6 kids per class, just so that they're around people that are same ability level, same age, but we also create an opportunity for them to have fun. Fun first is where it's at. You really kind of want to just make sure that you're not putting them in a situation where they're going to become easily frustrated. You're not trying to make it overly difficult. You're creating games that will build on the golf skills that we're trying to teach, but also teach the life skills we're trying to teach as well. And basically, you create really good, solid foundational golf skills, but also solid life skills, and that kind of builds into helping them become really strong golfers and people.
And that is so important. The game could teach you a lot of things, but the aspects of it that make you a better person, that make your life better if you're paying attention, are huge. And speaking of that, on this podcast, we talk about mental toughness. That's the primary focus. And we dial in on the 4 C's, and that is commitment, control, confidence, and challenge. So I kind of want to walk through those 4 C's, and if you could tell us how they apply to these kids as they're learning to golf, and also the impact it has on their life and the things beyond golf. So we'll start with commitment. I think for me, looking from the outside, is getting these kids to stay committed and understanding what commitment really is in a sport that is really challenging, because so many people aren't that great at it, and it takes time to get good at it. So how do you approach that with these young kids?
Well, I think it's just like everything else in life. You want to surround them with people that really care about them. Um, and I'm a firm believer in kids don't care anything about what you know until they know you care. And so whenever you surround kids in an environment where it's welcoming, where they have the ability to fail, and um, they're surrounded by people that genuinely just care and want the best for them, that creates an easier way to get a kid committed. Um, Particularly, right, we start them off, you typically do class about 1 day out of every week for 6 to 8 weeks. And then, they're hooked. And I mean, it doesn't take long before, they're coming back for events, they're coming back for the next session. Um, I mean, we see across the board that, I mean, kids just continue to show up because they know they're coming into an environment where, it's okay to fail, but it's also they're going to have a large amount of fun, and there's people there that genuinely just want to see them be successful.
And I was going to ask about that. So the mentors, the coaches, first of all, where are they coming from? And how do you get those folks? And what is it about a mentor that can really accelerate somebody, not just for golf, but in anything somebody wants to accomplish? What role can a mentor play to do that?
So mentors make the game easier to play. One of the things that kids struggle with the most is the complexities of the rules that are surrounded in golf, particularly if they get into a situation where they're not exactly sure what to do. They're behind a tree, they're on a root, they hit the ball into the water. Just normal, even, bunker play, rough play, just normal parts of the game. A lot of times kids just don't have, the knowledge coming in to be able to navigate and learn how to, I guess, manage a golf course. Um, so mentors in the first place just are there basically just to help them, keep them calm, keep them relaxed. But also it just ultimately comes down to that relationship. We're very fortunate here in Savannah that we have a very deep pool of volunteers. Lots of people in the school system, but then we also have some young, young business people in the area. But also we have several retirement communities here where you have a lot of people that wanted to give back during their careers, but just didn't have the time. And now they've got the time to do so. And it just doesn't take long for them to come in, find a child that they bond with. And, they can be somebody that reminds them of one of their own children, or reminds them of, this is what it was like whenever I was a kid. But it really just doesn't take much for them to find somebody that they really just love to be around. And, it starts off with them just walking 9 holes with a kid, and it builds into, we've got some adults that play with some of our kids 18 holes, 2-3 times a week. So.
Man, that's awesome. I can remember my middle son. All my sons played golf at some point. My middle son really got attached to it, and just walking the golf course with a young person and seeing them grow into that that sport is awesome. So I could imagine a lot of people want to do that and have that experience, whether it's their kid or not. You brought up things like what do they do when they're behind a tree or they have a difficult bunker shot or something like that. There's always these challenges in the game. And we talk about risk orientation and learning orientation. And it's sometimes easy to take the risk in something, trying a different shot or whatever it is, a different club. But then when you fail, you could go two routes. You could really, just suck your thumb about it and get all, ticked off and really negative, or you can learn from it and grow. What kind of conversations do you have with the kids about that type of positive mindset thinking?
I mean, I think the hardest thing for kids is, the first thing that they really want to do is they really want to go for it and they really want to push. And so you find, kids that basically are just like, oh, I'm going to try to hit this club as far as I can. Or, I think I can get on the green on this par 5 and 2. I'm going to go over the water, over this bunker. I'm going to land it on the green. And, I mean, I'll just go ahead and go from my own experience with one of the kids I mentored a few years back. We were playing in an actual mentor golf tournament together, and it was a scramble, 2-person scrambler. And so this kid had the ability to drive the ball 300 yards. I have the ability to drive it about 220 into the woods. And so it was a dog leg left, and he was thinking, I'm going to go ahead. It was like 280 to carry the water. And he was like, I'm going to go ahead and go for it. And I'm like, but you could just lay us up, put us right there in the middle of the fairway. We'll have a nice, easy 100-yard shot in. I'm good at that. You're good at that. We'll be good. He's like, no, I'm going to go for it. Went for it, and it almost cleared the water and just trickled down into the bottom. And we ended up having to take my shot that went like into the woods over to the right. And so I think the hardest thing is just to get a kid to basically realize where their strengths are and not take risks. But that's also just something that they'll learn from. So, I mean, you even see it on, we have a Corn Ferry tour stop here, and there's one particular hole that it's a short par 4. It's a drivable 4. But it's over water. You can't hold this green from the tee shot. And a lot of guys will choose to try to go for it, but there's not a lot of space behind the green. And it just gets them in trouble, to where a lot of the guys that are really successful with it are the ones that just go ahead and just lay it up to about 100 yards, and then they just pop on and make the birdie putt, and it's simple. And a lot of these guys are making double on this hole just because, they're trying to get that eagle on a par 4. And I think that's probably the same thing with kids. Like, they're always trying to, instead of just playing their comfort zone and where they can be successful, they're trying to risk as much as they can to get as low a score as possible.
Yeah, and that's a big challenge to help young people understand that if you're going to take the risk, then you better be able to handle the stuff that comes out of it that's not positive, doesn't go in your favor, and you'll learn from that. And hopefully in the future, you go the different route. So you could go ahead and birdie or par that hole. And in life, how do you translate this stuff to, it's not just about golf, but when you do things like that in life, it could really be a lot messier.
I mean, we definitely, make direct correlations to life and everything that we do. That's one thing that I guess probably sets First Tee chapters apart from other organizations. Every class starts with introducing that life skill, and then you're reinforcing that life skill throughout the entire lesson. But at the end, you're talking about how you're going to apply that outside of the golf course. And so whenever you come across kids that it's the same thing, like you take a risk, in life of, it can be something as simple as, I'm just going to go ahead and drive, 10 miles over the speed limit, trying to get somewhere quick or, whatever. It can create all kinds of different obstacles. I mean, there's lots of different shortcuts you can take in life, but with the one thing that we teach them is that every action, there's a consequence. And it doesn't matter, like some actions can create positive consequences and some can create negative. But no matter what, there's going to be some sort of reaction and consequence to this, and you have to be ready for it. Um, and you just have to accept that you made the decision. Now you've got to live with it and continue. So,
Yeah, I think that's a huge concept for young people to learn as fast as they can, and how to deal with things that don't go their way, and adapt and grow from them constructively, instead of spiraling out. One thing about the game of golf and young people is the emotional side that stands out to me. As an adult, all of us out there at golf, we've had our moments, for better or for worse, even mental toughness coaches, where it's really hard to control your emotion during a round of golf, especially when a shot goes bad or a couple holes go really bad or something like that. And then you look at the young people and you're like, okay, how do I get the young people to understand that keeping your emotions in check? You could have them. It's okay to have them, but keeping them in check, understanding their signals more than anything else so you can move forward. How do you work with young people on controlling emotions?
I mean, I think it comes down to same thing across the board. When you're learning, your swing, everything in golf is repetition. And you can throw yourself off in something as simple as, for some of our younger kids, it's running to the tee and, them getting there and being like, huffing and puffing and just not having that calm. Um, but also, I think about my own children. I've got a 12-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son. 8-year-old son, when we play, he just hits it. Like there's no thought process, nothing at all. My daughter is completely opposite. There's a ton of thought. Everything's got to be exactly correct. Everything has to be in its place. And um, it definitely can be challenging for a kid.
How do you work with kids and teaching them how to manage and control their emotions?
So just like I was just saying about, the kid that runs up to the putting, runs, to the tee box and, their heart rate is up, they're elevated and, it causes a change in, and basically how they're approaching their shot and it affects that. Same thing goes for emotions. Like if you can basically build a mindset of I'm in a happy place, sometimes for our kids, it's, distracting them. It's, looking at things that are around them, talking about something else, realizing, when you build that mentor relationship with them, the kid. So like, if you can find a way to get them away from like focusing on the negative, that's going to essentially help them to continue to build on something positive. But emotions are probably the hardest thing about golf because golf is also a very long, as we know, sport. I mean, most of these kids are playing 4.5 hour rounds. There's a lot of time to think, and there's not a lot of time. I mean, so your walk between your shots, um, time that you have where you're waiting and you're waiting for your opponents to hit and that sort of thing. You have to keep those emotions in check, and you can't let something bad control that. I mean, we know that if we're going to hit 70 shots in a round, only 5 of those are going to be really good shots. The rest of them are going to be, you know, you probably won't have too many like horrible shots, but they'll just be average. And you just have to, learn to, know that good shots are going to come, but bad shots are going to occur more often. And you just have to roll with it. And it's just kind of like the old. I guess I'm a older basketball player. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and the people that are most successful at that are the ones that keep shooting and they forget about the misses. And that's the same thing in golf. Like you just have to go on ahead and just approach the next shot like nothing happened like before. Put yourself in a bad spot, that's fine, but you just approach it like you're just playing the next shot. Don't worry about what happened in the past.
Have over the years, have you ever had anyone speak to the kids or the organization about breathing techniques or different ways to calm or keep those emotions in check?
I've actually never had anybody speak to the kids about that before. We have had a couple of, I guess, professional golfers speak to the kids, and some of the things that they talk about is keeping calm. But we also have a couple of retired college golf coaches that volunteer for us as well, and some of the things that they talk about are some of the things that I was mentioning about just making sure that you're balanced, that all of your thoughts are, they're positive, that everything that you have that's focused is, basically center. So, you just rely on, your strengths, and you know what your weaknesses are, and you know how to, maneuver around your weaknesses. I mean, we do it in life too. So
I had a chance several months ago to meet Anne Marie Polly, and now I've gotten to know her fairly well. And she was in the LPGA. She's on the LPGA Legends Tour, and she was the first European to make it onto the LPGA Tour. And she won so many amateur titles in Europe. I can't count, but we were golfing together, and she kind of brought up what you said. She talks about it like being a painter, and not every stroke is going to be perfect, but you have to enjoy what you're creating and find ways to make it beautiful. And so I thought, I never looked at it that way, and that's just her temperament, and she's done a great job teaching other golfers around the world that same mindset. But I think it is important because off the golf course, as these kids grow up, they become adults, they're going to face so many challenging situations, and I think understanding how to control your emotions is critical. And if you guys are doing that with the kids, that's a huge step for them moving forward. So the fourth C is confidence, and some people say that this might be the most important of the four C's, but confidence doesn't just appear. You can't fake it. Kind of two questions. Number one, do you see kids develop the confidence, and how long does that usually take? And I don't mean confidence that they're the greatest golfer, but confidence that they believe in themselves, they can learn, they can grow, they see themselves being a better golfer down the road. And is there anything that you guys do to help improve their confidence while they're kind of stumbling along?
I mean, I think that this is probably one of the hardest things. Some kids just naturally have it, and most struggle with this. It's one of the things. It's actually one of our 9 core values is confidence. Confidence is a very hard thing to, I guess, to teach, because it's not something that can just be. It's not something that can be learned. It just kind of comes with, understanding how your, I guess, your game is, how your personality is, um, and just learning how to handle and manage that. But the one thing that, that helps with confidence is experiencing great shots. If you can basically, that you can achieve something, that you can hit a certain shot or a certain ball, and then doing it. The more success that kids experience, the more their confidence builds. What hurts a child's confidence is whenever you're constantly focusing on the negative. I think about, as a kid, like riding home from games and like, parents ripping you in the back seat about like everything you did wrong in the game, versus, instead of just harping on what went well. I think if you continue to focus on the positive things, the confidence will continue to build. If you put negative thoughts into a child, even into anybody, they're going to be less confident, less willing to try. And so I personally think that as long as you make the experience fun, and that you continue just to focus on positive things, that confidence will continue to grow. Um, and it's amazing to see a kid with a ton of confidence. We actually just had a tournament Monday, Tuesday of this week. We had a child shoot a 66 and a 68
Wow.
from
That's
the tips.
awesome.
And it was one of those, like, you could just tell he was going for every single shot. Like, there was no, like, I'm going to just cruise in. It was like, I'm going for the course record on, like, for every ball. Um, at least what I got to see. It's hard to see, everything when you're running a tournament, but from, I did a couple of times like swing by just to watch and see what he was doing. And, um, that's, I guess it's one, seeing that from a kid who's 15 down to a kid who's, probably the easiest thing is like the 5, 6, 7 year olds. There's, they have all the confidence in the world because it doesn't really, it's very hard for them to lose a golf ball too, because they don't hit it far enough to lose it. And so it's fun to see the confidence they have. Like, for putting, they just putt the ball. There's no reading it. There's no, you know, any thought process to it at all. And for the most part, it ends up pretty well. It's kind of like whenever you and I play. I mean, when you're putting for 10, that putt usually goes in.
Right.
But you got a 5-foot putt for birdie, you're going to miss it because you're overthinking it. Like, so, but yeah, it's really cool to watch kids navigate and just play the game. It's a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, it is. You're so right. It's funny about the ball doesn't go very far, so they don't lose it. That happens to me all the time. I don't lose that many balls because I don't hit it that far, but my scores still are a little bit. But it's so true. You were spot on about supporting the kids, making sure that they're getting positive reinforcement, positive feedback, encouraging them. And I work with a lot of young athletes and I work with sales professionals too. And people always ask me, well, how could I get my confidence? How could I grow my confidence? And of course, the positive side comes up. But I said, you got to practice. I mean, you want to be confident going into a tournament or confident going into a sales presentation or confident doing whatever. Practice your skill, practice your craft as much as you can. Be as good as you possibly can. You're going to be more confident. You're going to be better prepared, and you'll focus on that process during the round. But those two things combined are super important. And you're right. You can't really teach confidence. It's got to be something that that person develops through their own action, really, through the whole thing. Well, we got through the 4 C's. I want to know more, like what's ahead for the First Tee, whether it's your chapter or beyond. What's coming up next that you think is going to make it even better and easier for all kids to be able to play the great game of golf?
You're probably seeing it more now. You're seeing, I guess, around the country, a lot of places that are taking a public golf course, that a municipal golf course, and transforming it into something that's, I guess, what I would consider community based. And we're looking to do the same thing with one of our local municipal courses as well. And so you're basically taking a municipal golf course and refurbishing it, and I guess you're seeing it with the Patch in Augusta, Cobbs Creek in Philadelphia, the Park in West Palm. Basically what's next for us is doing something like that here in Savannah. And so I guess what we're looking at doing is creating an opportunity for kids to have a place to play for free. And same thing for adults too. Like, it's not going to be private. It'll be public golf. It'll be affordable. You'll have, state of the art facility, full practice area, tiered hitting practice bays with technology. We're looking at a 35 to 40,000 square foot learning lab, particularly for our kids, not only just for golf, but also just to go on ahead and teach them life skills. It's particularly some of the things that we're starting to get into with Mentor Golf for us is actually talking about college and career readiness, and recognizing that a lot of the kids in our area don't really have a direction of where they want to go and don't know what's out there. And so it's basically creating a partnership I think we're the number 2 port in the entire country now.
Wow.
So creating a partnership with our ports, working on some maritime education, but also by having that, we've got a lot of industry that's coming to Savannah in our area as well. And so we basically want to create opportunities for kids to learn and see what's out there. Eventually build into where we create opportunities for them to shadow some of the careers in the area, run some internships like their senior year of high school, to where, either they're going to college and then coming back and leading in some of those areas, or they're entering the workforce, and we set them up with a steady, career that they can be successful in life. We know that, majority of our kids that are playing golf are not going to be professional golfers. We hope that we'll have a couple. We do. We also know we're going to have some really great players because we're seeing it now. But we know that they're all going to eventually get to a point where they've got to be an adult. And so we want to make sure we're setting them up and that they have a solid foundation for success in anything that they want to do. And so I guess the next thing for us is just creating an atmosphere where we can take kids from all over Savannah, put them all in one place, and be able to produce what we consider our next generation of leaders. So that's kind of what our next goal is.
Well, you're doing a heck of a job of accomplishing that goal. And that's a great thing about golf. Even if you don't become a professional golfer, it's a sport you can end up loving. And then you could play your whole life, and you could play it with your sons and daughters and your fathers and moms and all that kind of stuff. It's just an unbelievable opportunity in life to learn and have something that you could really, really enjoy. And speaking of Savannah, by the way, my wife and I go up there every once in a while. Love it there. You guys, great golf, great restaurants, great history. It's one of our favorite places in the world to go to. So before we wrap this up, how can people get involved with the First Tee? I mean, it's critical to your mission to have people get involved, not just monetarily, but through their own physical actions. How can they do that?
So any way that you can reach out to us is through our website, firstteesavannah.org. Phone number 912-446-5885, or reach out to us on social media. But the one thing that we need more than anything is people. We need people that care about kids. We need people that are willing to donate some time to spend with a child to build them up and essentially teach them to be just like you are now. So we're always in need of equipment, golf balls, space. Space is the big thing. So if you're, one of the courses or, facilities in our area and you got some space, we would love to be able to utilize it. That's probably one of the hardest things for us is seeing the kids that are on our wait list and just not being able to find a space for them. And that's part of the reason why we're looking at this facility is so that we never have to worry about turning a kid away. So,
yeah, that would be fantastic. Well, I applaud you, your staff, organization for everything you're doing. I think everybody that's listening is going to be super impressed, and hopefully some of the folks out there try to get involved and definitely help you out or other chapters out around the country, of course.
Yeah, there's 160 of them across the country, and there's about 20 international now. So
yeah, it's huge. As I was doing some research, I'm like, wow, this is a heck of a lot bigger than I thought it was. So that's great. So everybody out there, you know how to get in touch with John. You know how to get in touch with the First Tee. Go ahead and do it. It's super important. John, thank you so much for being on the show. It was an awesome honor to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate it. I had a great time and love having the conversation. It truly is one of the things that warms my heart is talking about the success of our kids in our program.
Well, we'll have you back on. I always try to get people back on. So I'll check in down the road. We'll get you back on. I'm sure you'll have double the amount of kids involved that you have now.
It's going to be hard to double that. Savannah's not as big as Atlanta and not as big as some of these larger cities. So eventually we're going to hit that, I guess, wall where we kind of plateau. But for right now, we haven't gotten there yet. So
for sure. So we'll see, though. You never know. You never know what could happen. So. That's right. Well, for the rest of you out there, appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to learn more about mental toughness, go to chargeforwardcoaching.com. There's all kinds of information on there. You could always give me a call or an email or a text. And if you want to check out coaching and what I can help you with, go ahead and do that. I got a free discovery call, no charge. We'll figure out what you want to do and you get to know me a little bit. And other than that, just remember to keep charging forward.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Charge Forward Coaching. Remember, the journey to greatness is built on mental toughness and consistent effort. So head on over to chargeforwardcoaching.com and book a free discovery call to take the next step in your journey. Until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep charging forward.